Today, I want to talk about terminology, which doesn't sound very exciting, but this came up in a meeting that I was in a little while ago. And the topic is, what is a life-changing injury or illness? And so, in the context of which this was being discussed, this was going to make a difference to the people who can access certain services. But in the context of this podcast and returning to work, I want to look on it with a slightly different perspective, because sometimes we think that whatever's happened to us is not serious enough to qualify for changing our lives or being called a life-changing injury or illness. But the truth is, if you are listening to this because something in your health is massively impacting the way that you're able to work, which in turn has an impact on your income, your quality of life, your standard of living, your family, and your choices, then the chances are that this might be life-changing. And it might be life-changing temporarily, or it might be life-changing permanently. And you may not know that at the moment, or you may only know that it's changing your life right now. And even if things go back to some kind of normal, there's another episode on that, even if things go back to how they were before or similar, the chances are that you will have a completely new perspective on life and health. And you may choose to make some subtle changes, small changes that help support you in your future. And if you're in a fortunate position that you're going to fully recover from whatever's happened to you, then it may be that the biggest change is valuing your health more and taking more time to look after yourself in the future. However, if you're in a situation where this looks like it may be a permanent change and you are having to seriously consider changes to your work permanently, so that might be reducing your hours and going part-time in the same type of role that you had before, or it might be choosing to completely change what you do, retrain, take time out, stop what you're doing, and take stock. And the reality of that situation is that it's huge. It has huge implications for your future. And when you make a decision like changing direction, changing your career, closing your business, looking at making an income in a completely different way in the future, then all sorts of thoughts and feelings are going to go through your head, all sorts of options go through your head, and you won't know for sure which is the right direction. So I guess there's potentially a lot to be unpacked here in a fairly philosophical sense. Because if your identity is linked to your work, you suspect that your work needs to change permanently as a result of your illness or injury or long-term condition, then you may well find that this impacts you on a very deep level and triggers immense personal change as well as professional change. Now, that's something that I personally have experienced, that I hear other people experiencing, but sometimes it doesn't happen straight away. Sometimes we have to cope with what we're going through. We have to go into survival mode. In fact, I was speaking to somebody about this just last week, is that if you're faced with a new diagnosis that is potentially life-threatening in the short term and then becomes more manageable and you survive, then sometime down the line, whether it's weeks, months, possibly also years, you may have a point where you feel you need to stop and you need to recover yourself, because the energy consumed in managing a serious health issue is huge. It's absolutely huge, and you'll be running on adrenaline and cortisol, your stress hormones. And we're not designed to do that for long periods. That's supposed to be a short-term survival mechanism. But unfortunately, in today's society, we tend to end up stuck in this nervous system fight or flight place, which I'm sure some of you will relate to. And sometimes you think, well, that's not me, because I don't feel anxious, I'm not agitated, I don't want to fight or flight, I'm not angry. But the truth is, you may have tipped over into what we call freeze, which is the very long-term state of feeling numb, disconnected, fatigued, low in mood, uninterested, no energy to do anything. That is also a chronic nervous system survival state. So if you recognize any of these and you are thinking, well, I think I need to change something permanently, but I don't really know where to begin and I don't know how to get my way out of this. I feel like being stuck planted at the bottom of a well or in the middle of a maze, not knowing which way to go. Then please do reach out and see if I may be able to help. We've got a range of resources and an online course and also one-to-one mentoring options to help with this stage of your illness. And I really just want to reinforce that if something is changing your life, I encourage you actually that probably it's going to change your life for the better. It might not feel like that right now, but it may well do change your life for the better in terms of how well you look after your health going forward. But it's okay. If this is changing your life, then it's a life-changing injury. It may happen quickly. It may happen slowly. It may look massive from the outside, maybe outwardly, physically obvious signs that you have been ill or injured. It may be invisible, hidden on the outside, known only to you and those closest to you, the depth of the impact it's having on your life. All of that is valid. All of that is legitimate. And if you need help with any of that, please do get in touch.